Short, we had to kick someone out. Now, there's only 4 people working to restore this wilderness lodge. Although, if they were all kicked out, the lodge would probably be in better shape. This is Canada's worst handyman.
The 4 people who remain in our Handyman Rehabilitation Center were nominated as the country's worst builder by their loved ones. Darlis from Red Deer, Alberta, nominated Johnny, her anxiety-riddled husband.
Handyman stuff, I'm incompetent, I'm inept, I'm hopeless.
Always in denial, Brian from Sarnia, Ontario, was nominated by Veronica, his wife.
I consider every project that I've done 100% successful.
Come on.
Mark, originally from Gatineau, Quebec, knows that his friend Eric has more than a few screws loose.
I don't even want to shake this thing. Like, I'm worried it's going to fall off.
It's fine.
And finally, Roy from Minto, New Brunswick, thinks his color-challenged wife, Angie, is Canada's worst handyman.
That's decorative. It blends in with the rest of the room.
On their 3rd day in our rehab center, located somewhere in the frozen wilderness of Ontario, the nominees for Canada's worst handyman had to take every piece of hardware out of their bathrooms.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
Brian was diligent about removing everything correctly. So was Eric. But Johnny made a mess of his sink pipes. In fact, Johnny made the final disconnection with a sledgehammer.
There we go. That last 5 minutes, baby, was as good as sex.
Angie
Can I just beat it off?
also stroked her plumbing until it came free.
There. Full pipe now.
Plumbing is really just convincing water to go where you want it to go. If you could stop time whenever you wanted, well, then plumbing would be a whole lot less stressful. But unfortunately, excuse me, coming through, life's just not like that. Dealing with their bathroom plumbing is the next challenge for Canada's worst handyman.
Man, this is going to be another pain in the butt project.
I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing.
Brian knows what to do.
What we're doing is we're putting valves on the hot and cold and the toilet.
But he can't remember how to do it.
I don't know what to do. I have no idea. I don't know what to do. 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 I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I should do.
Brian should consult his notes. 20 minutes ago, we gave Brian and all the bad handymen a lesson on how to install shutoff valves. Taught by our expert, Jeff Woodmansey, who's joined at the rehab center this year by Gail Prosser-Craig. Once they've seen all the action happen, these 2 professional builders will help me decide who is Canada's worst handyman. The water lines to every nominee's sink have these open elbows. So right now, the lodge's main water supply is off. We're having the nominees install compression-fit shutoff valves, which will allow them to turn the water supply to their toilet or sink off while leaving the main water on.
This is a compression valve. Inside the compression valve, there's a ring.
This soft brass ring is what actually compresses.
The nut goes on first, then the compression ring, then the valve itself goes on. Bring the nut up to the valve, thread it on,
The final wrench tightening compresses the brass ring inside, creating a permanent bond with the pipe.
That's all.
Eric knows what he has to do to these old elbows.
The only thing I gotta need to do is cut those.
Luckily, Eric has a pipe cutter he bought when we took Canada's worst handyman shopping back on their first day of rehab.
Let's get the pipe cutter.
A pipe cutter.
Okay, let's go where that would be. Where would that be?
Pipe cutters. Pipe cutters.
Veronica?
Brian found the pipe cutters.
We have a pipe cutter.
Where? Says pipe cutter right on it.
It sure does, man alive. That would cut one of the largest pipes I've ever seen in my life. You can buy pipe cutters that are this big.
And that's exactly what Eric does.
Yeah.
The water supply to Eric's room is shut off, but the water that was in his pipes has not magically vanished.
Mark, get the bucket. Get the buckets right behind me.
When people use pipe cutters for the first time,
It's coming off. So I must be using this gadget, right?
they always love them.
This is a really neat tool. I like this. This is perfect.
During demolition, Johnny cracked his hot water pipe off somewhere inside the wall.
Well, there's definitely a pipe there.
That's why you don't do plumbing with sledgehammers right there.
Yeah. Ooh.
The end of Johnny's cracked off pipe is still inside this coupling. To get the pipe fragment out, Johnny needs to get it hot.
I don't mind telling you how nervous I am. I think it's getting a little looser, yeah. There we go.
Success. Johnny's wearing a hard hat to do his plumbing. But Angie isn't. When Angie gets all the pieces of her compression coupling on, she doesn't get the ring to fully compress.
That's as stuck as I can do it.
When the water comes back, the obvious happens.
There she goes.
Angie's failure is hands-on.
And my hands are blistered from doing it.
When Brian gets the pieces of his valve in place,
That's the compression part.
he tries to tighten it only by hand.
I'm afraid of breaking it. I just can't figure out why it's not compressing. Like, I don't understand why it's not tightening, folks.
In class, Brian was told to tighten with wrenches.
If you know what you're doing, it's simple.
Brian is swimming in a sea of useful information.
I'll tell you, I just feel invigorated today about that plumbing. This is so exciting.
The water's back on in Eric's room, and
There's nothing leaking!
Eric is improving.
Last time I've done this at my house, it leaked all over the place, and he was pissing himself laughing. This time you're just...
When Johnny gets all of his compression fittings assembled, Darlis is less than optimistic.
I'm just stepping back when they turn the water on, that's for sure.
All right, Andrew, let her rip.
Oh no, the shower!
What?
Shut it off!
Ay, 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 ay.
That's hot water, for sake.
You got a bit of a leak happening here too, BB. It's got the spray situation going on there.
So I didn't get it on tight enough, obviously.
Instead of tightening his fitting, Johnny separates it.
What a nightmare.
Johnny's plumbing just got off on the wrong foot.
Scalded my right foot. It just shot. Oh, it was just... Oh, everything. It was just total disaster.
After the break, the headaches continue.
Is it done yet? Oh.
One thing that has happened consistently in rehab this year is Johnny's operatic singing.
Let us begin.
You caught me. For most Canadians, showering is pretty much a basic human right. But worst handyman nominee Brian doesn't have a working shower in his own home. So here at our rehab center, we're going to get him to install one of these plastic tub surround showers just so he gains enough confidence to maybe put one in when he gets back home to Sarnia. Immediately, Brian is confused by the instructions.
Well, it doesn't. This is like French.
There is a translation.
Keep the shipping carton to use as a template later.
To install their tub surround kits, everyone will be following 2 sets of instructions, including our experts.
Yeah, as long as we follow our directions, we'll be perfectly fine.
The first instructions come with the tub surround kit, and they say to make any modifications you need, then test every piece before gluing them on.
Help me dry fit that, see if it works.
If this fits, the adhesive instructions are next.
Great.
Good.
To become sticky, this adhesive needs access to air.
Allowing the adhesive to vent for 3 to 5 minutes.
This S pattern in the middle of each sheet is called a bead. Gail makes a perimeter bead as well. The fitted plastic goes up, then comes down so the glue can get tacky, then goes up again permanently.
We're just putting this tape to hold the panel in place while everything cures. That's it.
Beautiful.
Angie starts by dry fitting everything all at once.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It's all falling down. Anyway, we got the basic idea.
Yeah.
Johnny starts by thinking one piece of plastic should cover his whole shower stall.
Well, it's not 52 inches wide.
Honey, these other pieces go on as well.
And Eric begins applying the adhesive without reading the instructions on the tube. So, he's sticking up the sheets without allowing the glue to get any air, which means its bond won't be permanent. Before Angie can waterproof her tub, she has to redo the plumbing she destroyed back on day 3.
Woohoo! There. Now it looks straight.
And she has to solidify her wall, which means safely cutting a piece of water-resistant drywall.
Is that done yet?
Oh,
Thanks.
sorry.
That hit me right in the head. I had a bump on my head now.
That bump must have Angie confused because
How do I know which way I measured it?
Angie puts her drywall up before her plumbing is fixed.
You don't cover up your work before the work is completed. It just doesn't make sense.
After 90 minutes, all Johnny has managed to do is waste half a roll of duct tape.
Johnny, I think you're putting on too much duct tape.
Brian puts adhesive on his panels, but he's not using nearly enough.
It doesn't tell me exactly how much. Goobs and gobs and ounces.
One thing it says right here is place a perimeter bead 5 centimeters in from edge.
I didn't do that.
What Brian does do is learn from his mistakes.
It's done. Well, not as good as I thought it would be, but it's done.
Brian's plumbing education is worth more than you understand.
You know, I find this course educational. It's like pockets on a shirt. This is absolutely the most essential thing we could possibly have.
Eric gets all of his plastic up, but he doesn't let the adhesive breathe.
Instructions for low IQ people.
What did the adhesive say?
Well, I didn't really look at the adhesive.
You just gooped it on there and hope for the best.
That's it.
Eric's plastic comes down, and his spirit seems broken.
I quit. This sucks, man.
It's gonna be painful, but Eric has to eat his words.
Oh, yeah, no. It's hurting. I'm gonna say it. Instruction are for high IQ people.
After 2 hours, the only adhesive Johnny has touched is on duct tape.
It's a nightmare.
A singing success. This is not.
No song from Johnny today. It was a total unmitigated disaster. It was just a disaster.
Angie still can't put up her tub surround because she has to prepare a new pipe for her shower line.
So you want me to heat it up and then flux, or flux and then heat it up?
First sand, then add flux, then add heat.
There you go.
How much heat?
Hot, hot, hot as you can get her.
Oh my God. I don't catch that, I suppose, eh?
No.
Angie's confusion will have to continue later.
I don't know. I'm at the point I'm confused big time. And I look confused during the thing. And I wasn't even confused then. And now I'm double confused.
After the break, Canada's worst handymen get plastered.
I just made a big boob and it just came all over.
Back on day 7, when the nominees for Canada's worst handyman installed their drywall, many of them didn't bother to end their sheets on a stud.
Leaving a big fat gap like that will cause a lot of problems, not the least of which will involve plaster. It's a lesson the bad handymen are about to learn because their next challenge is to plaster their drywall.
For obvious reasons, we've given the handyman lots of plaster. And they'll be shown how to use it by Gail. Covering a drywall seam can be done either with sticky mesh tape.
You can easily put that on your joint.
Or you can use non-sticky paper tape, which needs plaster on the wall first.
Take your paper tape. Put this guy on.
You're using both tapes.
Only for demonstration purposes.
Once either kind of tape is up, finishing is the same process.
Take more mud and cover the paper. And with the mesh tape.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
Covering the screws is also easy.
It's just a quick 1, 2. It's an X, like that. It's an X. Watch what happens if you didn't screw in your screw all the way. See how it sticks out?
Can you hammer them in or
Hammer a screw in?
Well, no, I don't really want to, but...
Then you shouldn't.
Ultimately, plastering is a 3-coat job. Today, the handymen are just doing the first coat.
Let's get up there and get started.
Jeez. Angie starts by reading the plaster mixing instructions.
Add powder slowly into water and mix thoroughly until powder is completely wet. That's all it says?
No, it also says the mixture should be
3 powder for 1 part water.
But Darlis gets it backwards.
1 part of this to 3 parts water.
And she uses dirty water.
That should do it.
It's not looking right. I think they need to add more. More yet?
Why don't we just dump it in here?
Okay. Or why to put a bit more in there?
I still think we need some more. That's not thick enough.
No, I don't think it is.
No, I think it's too thick. Can you get me some water?
Down the hall in Brian's room, he's putting the fiberglass tape practically everywhere.
Brian's taping over his screws. That's not what I told them to do in the class.
Does anyone have any more fiberglass tape? Because I'm running out of tape. Oh, I have no tape. Man, that's good. I gotta get all this stuff on the screws.
Angie is getting plaster on her screws,
Well, this is turning out to be a real pain in the butt.
but she doesn't want to use the proper tool.
This would be so much easier if I could just do this. I'm just using my finger.
Whatever makes it easiest for you.
Angie's work is easy to critique.
So, I suck. It's sucking. Ain't going good at all.
Eric is pretty good at this task.
I'm done.
Now, if we could only teach him to clean up.
I broke my mirror.
Brian has the daunting task of covering 20 meters of fiberglass tape.
Oh, this is kind of scary. I don't know how much to put on. I just put a lot on.
It's a good thing Brian isn't learning plastering by doing his seams at home.
Is this a seam in the drywall?
No.
There's a seam here, correct?
No.
No. Where's the seam, man?
Brian has taped over every screw and all the real estate in between.
Was this involved in the class when you showed how to cover the screws?
Well, I didn't cover all. I figured she didn't say not to go down the whole seam. She just said...
Did she say not to eat your own arm? Now you have a perfectly flat surface, and you've got mesh tape on your perfectly flat surface.
Oh, so I didn't need this whole row. I didn't know that.
Sure you did. It just happened in class.
It's too easy. I made it complicated for myself.
You? No.
Yeah.
Brian's plaster job is his usual mess.
There's a big gob of drywall mud all over the wall. I'm hoping with the second and third coat, I can salvage it and feather it out and make it smooth.
Johnny's plaster job
Just pour it in the tray.
is going over raised screw heads.
That's got to be countersunk.
Instead of turning the screws further into the wall, Darlis tries hammering them in.
Working?
Yes.
Hammered screws are about as good as Johnny's tape job. And Johnny's plastering job is worse. Let's put it this way. He does a redundant amount of redundant wiping quite redundantly. And as usual, it's a mess.
You know, it's all part of being a handyman or trying to be a handyman. So, you know, you get messy, you live and you learn.
When we come back, Brian leads this episode's group challenge.
Hang on, I'm just really scared here.
The next group challenge for Canada's worst handyman is assembling this pool table, which flips into this air hockey table. Now, this thing has 209 parts, but keep in mind, it's not a puzzle, it's just a process. And the detailed instructions are already in the hands of the foreman, whose head is already spinning.
Looks like we got a challenge ahead of us.
Brian's team also has to design and build a rack for these pool cues.
Do we have any questions, any preferences on what we should do, Johnny? Angie?
Johnny and Angie go for the table, while Brian and Eric tackle the cue rack.
So we'll probably have to have a bottom, two sides, and a back.
Let's keep it organized.
Throwing this screw pack backing away will create disorganization.
Need to get the right screws.
It's just a little bit confusing figuring out which screw is which.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, big time. There's different sizes, Ange.
They don't know which screw is which because on the back right here, it says that's the 16 screw, that's the 17 screw, that's the 19 screw. So how do you know which screw is which?
Well, I'm assuming them short little fat ones are 15.
Johnny's screws are too long.
And I don't want to go through the entire wall and into my hand right away.
And Angie's are in the wrong spot.
Is it upside down?
We got it upside down.
Johnny's
All at top.
Eric has got the simple rack almost done.
What we'll need is like 4 holes. Okay, Johnny.
Yeah.
You're pretty good at cutting holes.
Uh-huh.
Eric, you're going to give Angie a hand with the instructions. We're going to cut right through these babies.
To make the cuts, Johnny uses a hole saw.
This is neat.
Isn't that neat? Go, baby, go. You can do it.
Johnny cannot do it.
Push, man, push.
This rough lumber is a little over an inch deep, but the hole saw is exactly an inch. Eventually,
Yay!
Johnny breaks his way through.
When you're drilling something and it suddenly ceases to drill anymore, you know you got issues.
This group has so many issues, we've called out for helpers.
Who's coming?
Your nominators.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks. Yay! Hi, guys.
The cavalry's arrived.
Yay.
Okay, go straight now, honey.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh,
The table is coming along, but
I'm just sort of worried about this.
Why? It's going fine.
Yeah, I know.
Eric wants to hurry this challenge up.
So, you put on my shirt. You be me.
All right, so you want me to be you? All right, guys, let's go. I'm Andrew now. Let's get the on the row. Brian, how's your team together? Is it together?
Yeah.
Is it done? Hang it.
We don't have to hang it.
Oh, yeah, we got to hang it.
He didn't say we have to hang it.
Yeah, we do.
No, he didn't say
No,
that.
we do. Let's go. Now, you're putting
No.
this up now. Let's go, Brian.
Okay, so what we're going to do is put a bracket here.
Come on, Brian, make your bracket.
The table is almost done,
Frig is heavy.
You're now ready to play. Not yet.
but mounting the rack is stalling.
Who's cutting the bracket right now?
Cut that off, and then we'll put that on. Good, that's better.
Let's go. Use that. Measure, cut, go. This is ridiculous. This is way too much time already. Go, fly like the wind.
Eric, your voice is echoing in my brain.
The air hockey table and the pool table both work fine.
There we go.
But the rack has problems.
I'm not totally incompetent.
Johnny's not totally excellent either.
It's not level.
It's a little bit crooked.
What happened here?
Oh, we got a screw going through, guys.
The rack is a wreck. And Brian says it's his fault.
Yeah, well, I made an executive decision. Thank you.
When we come back, the nominees for Canada's Worst Handyman
Me.
turn their barrels into chairs, and there's a surprise visitor waiting for Eric.
What's this?
That's why you know.
If you're the type of person who enjoys buying liquor by the barrel, my guess is you're also the type of person who enjoys sitting down. And conveniently enough, turning a liquor barrel into a chair is quite easy. And entertainingly enough, it's the next challenge for Canada's Worst Handyman.
This project is gonna bomb right from the beginning. I'm guaranteeing it.
My prediction for this? I'm too nervous and I have too much anxiety to give you one.
I'm doing what I'm doing, and no one knows what I'm doing except me, and I don't even know what I'm doing.
When Brian says
I don't know.
he doesn't know what he's doing with his chair,
I don't know.
he really means he doesn't know.
I don't know. I'm trying to visualize it in my mind, and I just don't know. I just don't know.
Our experts know what they're doing. Gail splits her barrel with the reciprocating saw without cutting any of its metal rings. Jeff tidies up the edge, first with his circular saw, and then with a sander. When the seat is drawn out with a primitive compass, it's cut with a jigsaw before fitted foam is held in place with a fabric cover.
That looks great.
To prevent the barrel from stinking, the experts scrape the loose bits from the charred inside, then they apply black paint.
What do you think, Jeff?
Jeff is probably thinking this has been a happy hour.
This is gonna suck.
Cutting the barrel.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be fun.
Terrifies Angie.
Did you see that blade? It's going like this.
All you have to do is put the shoe, which is the front of the saw, against the material, and it will not bounce all over the place.
Man, I'm gonna end up hurting somebody with this thing. That blade is going like this.
Brian looks like he might hurt himself. And Johnny is also having difficulties getting his saw to slice.
Oh, what a beast.
What a beast.
See if he's doing it right, Andrew. I've never seen one of these like
You're not doing it right.
No.
No. Let's just talk about this saw briefly. The reciprocating saw will only work if you get the cutting blade on something to cut.
With a little bit of practice, this useful tool becomes Johnny's favorite discovery.
Whoa! Eureka!
You're just a maniac with that thing.
Eric learns why the experts didn't cut their metal rings.
Woo! It's coming apart, man.
And Angie is so numbed by the cutting, she forgets to stop.
Hey! What are you doing?
I don't know. This thing's making me nervous. I cut down too low. Now what am I gonna do?
Angie cuts down the other side. Then
I'm gonna follow the bottom band all the way around.
it's a good plan, but
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Angie hacks the barrel in half without controlling the direction of her cut.
That's ridiculous looking.
To make the seat, Angie lays out the dirty barrel lid and draws something fairly circular around it.
See how this looks like a circle, but it looks like a real one?
Angie's circle needs, well, circularization.
Damn it. Sucks, man. Does it look more like a circle?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is looking real circular.
Angie's well-cushioned chair has a gap.
To cover up the gap, I'd use the excess strapping. That's what I would do.
You are insane.
Angie's seat impresses Angie.
I am just amazed I even accomplished this.
Johnny has lost his final shreds of hope.
We just had two here 5 minutes ago. There's none.
With only 2 shows left, are you worried that you might be lining up to be Canada's first handyman?
Andrew, I think objectively, and if I looked at things honestly, I think I'm a front runner, yes.
He'll stay as a front runner if Johnny keeps on putting latex house paint on dusty wood and rusty metal.
Yeah, I thought I'd do something with it.
Maybe it's the fumes, but Johnny is deluded.
I am not the worst handyman today.
We've had a lot of people in rehab who didn't know what they were doing.
I want to keep what I cut, but I want to get rid of what I need.
But Brian's lack of knowledge is so profound.
Is that the top or the bottom?
I don't know yet. I don't know. I just don't know.
It's like a short art film called The Man Who Doesn't Know.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Do you know?
No. I don't know.
But you know what it'll look like when you're done.
No, I don't know. 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 I don't know.
You must know to a certain
I don't
degree.
know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, Andrew. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Do you know, Angie?
Nope.
Did you know that Brian doesn't know?
Yeah, I knew that.
I don't know. 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 I don't know what I'm doing still, Andrew.
Really?
I don't know. 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 Oh, can we stay here for the rest of the day?
Are you done?
I don't know.
How Brian got finished, he'll never know.
You're done?
Perfect. I really like this.
Are you done?
I don't know.
Before coming to rehab, Eric's handiwork at home
I'm fixing my table with duct tape.
had his wife at her wits' end.
Eric has probably caused about $5,000 damage to this house.
Now, Michelle has traveled from Gatineau, Quebec to our isolated wilderness lodge to become Eric's new work partner.
Special guest arriving right about now. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Welcome to rehab.
Thank you.
I'm Andrew.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Come with me.
While Eric is in our confessional saying things like,
If Michelle saw my room, I should say I improve. Big time.
I take Michelle to the expert's room to show her how Eric's projects should have been turning out.
The experts put up this drywall.
Okay.
They built this electric fireplace. They built this barrel chair. Installing a toilet was part of it. He should have his vinyl floor down by now.
Wow.
Okay? Should.
Should?
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
No, he should have it down.
Oh, okay. Doesn't mean
He doesn't
that
have it down.
Oh, okay.
Then Michelle sees how her husband's projects have turned out.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. I'm speechless for words. I can't believe it.
While Michelle inspects the mess,
Oh, my.
Eric returns.
What's this?
That's why you know.
What is this?
It's a chair, honey.
No, the room. Like, I thought you were doing so well.
I am. Can you not tell?
Hey, Eric, I'm leaving, but I want to tell you that you got to get your together and get the job done, man.
You're working with your wife to finish the barrel chair.
What? Oh, no. And where's Mark? Oh. Thank God you're here. I didn't know what I was going to do about the bottom of the chair. That's cool. I'm not happy. I am not happy at all. This is why my work screws up at home. It's all the stress I get.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you too.
It turns out Michelle is an old pro at making cushions.
Good thing I'm here, huh?
Yeah, well...
Save your butt.
I'll go get screws.
Okay. So I think he was surprised to see me.
While the chair comes together,
My, did you ever sweep up this room once?
Nope.
Eric becomes stressed.
Well, Eric, sometimes stress is a good thing.
There you go. Done.
Yay! Hey, how is it?
Nice.
But you gotta fix this part right here.
Eric's wife deserves a proper throne.
Guess I'm the queen now.
Yeah. Yes, Your Majesty.
Oh, aren't you so sweet?
Yeah.
After the break, we'll announce this episode's worst handyman. Who did the worst work this episode? The experts start their final tour with Angie and her chair.
It's functionable.
But Angie, you ran your saw
Yeah,
all the way down here.
I lost control of it, actually.
In the bathroom, Angie has glued plastic over drywall, over plumbing that isn't even working.
You're jumping ahead. You have to finish the plumbing problems first, then fix your drywall, then put on your tub surround.
You've got 3 incomplete jobs going at once.
Yay!
Brian's big mistake was plastering areas of his drywall that didn't need plastering.
You've done this area perfectly. Right there, I like what you've done here. That's nice. This,
Beautiful.
this not so hot.
No, I've learned my lesson.
In Johnny's room, the plasterwork is just as bad.
This is a complete mess. And I don't see you doing any more mudding with this,
Yeah, that would be challenging.
or with this.
That's an absolute waste. There's no reason for that.
Johnny's barrel chair might be on the wrong side of the good taste divide.
It's probably more on the abomination side.
Johnny's shower is not working or waterproof.
We didn't finish it, obviously.
And worst of all is Johnny's amateur sink plumbing.
Well, it's sloppy. I mean, it's certainly not professional or anything like that.
Eric likes the look of his plaster job, but Gail doesn't.
My biggest concern is that there are not enough screws in the drywall board. If I shove on this or over time things adjust, it's gonna crack and then it's visible.
Tell me now about your wife showing up.
And party's over.
Before the experts and I decide who this episode's worst should be, the nominees get their own say.
I think Johnny's still struggling, and Johnny is the worst this episode.
I have no doubt whatsoever that I will be voted Canada's worst handyman this episode.
Worst. Ange.
I never said I was the best handyman, but I know I'm not the worst.
So, the worst this episode to me seems fairly obvious, is it?
In my mind, it's obvious.
Yes?
Very obvious.
We don't need to discuss this, do we?
I don't believe so.
Nah.
Done.
Before naming the worst, I'll announce the most improved handyman.
And that person for this episode is the person who learned the most during their plumbing project. And that's you, Johnny.
I told you.
Johnny may have caused a basic disaster.
Turn off the water!
But along the way, he learned more plumbing techniques than anyone.
Even though I screwed up at the beginning by demolishing everything, I get to learn new skills that the others don't.
That brings us to the worst.
The person who is the worst for this episode is the person who did the most damage during their plumbing project.
What?
How can you do the
What? You get the double?
What a shock. What a shock. I'm totally shocked.
See, Johnny, you clearly were the most improved because you showed up here knowing next to nothing. But you were also absolutely the worst.
It was an abomination. I admit this.
So for the first time ever in the history of the Handyman Rehabilitation Center, the most improved was also the worst.
Well, that's something.
Hang your head in shame, sir.
Okay. Okay.
You know how this works. You've been on the wall before.
There you go.
Where do you think you're going, sir? You stay with me. Everybody else can go. But you and I, we have homework.
Johnny's plumbing disaster happened partially because he couldn't remember the steps involved in soldering copper pipes. The steps are clean the copper, sand it, flux it, join it, heat it, and solder it.
I don't know if this is going to work as a lesson.
Okay.
But maybe if you sing it. So help you remember, I think. Like if you actually get a little rhyme or just a
Clean sand. Flux.
Yeah, flux.
Flux.
Start from the top again.
Clean sand. Flux. Blowtorch.
No, you didn't do the join.
A 1, a 2, a 3. Clean and sand and flux and join and heat. Solder.
On the next episode of Canada's Worst Handyman, the nominees finally install their sinks.
This piece of sink. It's just impossible to put together.
They make toilet seats.
This would be a good seat for a man. He would never have to lift it to take a pee.
And in the end, they make hard wood bend.
Damn. Failure.